today. So now I'll go ahead and introduce our speaker. David Trask is the National Director at ARC Facilities and the host of the Facility Voices podcast. As a keynote speaker and thought leader in facilities management, he helps facilities teams across various industries leverage innovative technology to enhance efficiency, speaks at quite a few events throughout the year, and talks to customers on a regular basis when he's on site. So David, we're excited to hear from you today. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over.
Thank you, Indira, and thank you everybody for joining me today. So what we're going to jump right in here and talk about is basically these 4 points, and that's the interactive and visual facilities equipment data for quick maintenance. Being able to visually see and be able to respond where things are going on in your buildings. Also, how to avoid shifting from preventative maintenance to deferred maintenance or even a run to fail model. And also how to minimize asset inventory gaps. I oftentimes see, and I'll share a lot of this in here in a few minutes, but gaps in inventory, what's really out in the field, and lack of being able to create and even maintain that moving forward with real-time updates in the field. And then also to really equip your team with tools in the field, modern tools, modern technologies that they can actually access the information to do their job better, be able to respond faster with all the information they need. So let's jump right the heck in here. Well, we're going to start out here with the leveraging of asset mapping. What does that mean? Having all of my documentation all in one spot, but more importantly, where is the stuff in my building? And having access to that stuff if I'm on a roof or I'm, climbing up the side of a building to get to the roof. I pull my phone out of my pocket and I can access stuff that I need to be able to fix that stuff up on that roof, being able to see what's on the roof before I even climb on that ladder, or go from building to building and not have to go back to a plan room, not have to go back to an office and jump on a laptop or jump on a desktop computer someplace to even see what's out there in the field. I can literally go from building to building. But what that also means is real time. Meaning in the field, I can see what's going on with this stuff right now. Where is it? What is it? And then I can attach that with all the other documentation associated with what's going on in that event. Also, live updates. Document what's going on while you're standing in front of the unit, while you're standing in front of that AHU, while you're standing in front of that exhaust fan. Being able to update things live, real time. And then everybody's on the same page looking at the same stuff. So everybody on the team can now see the changes that I've made real time. And also, by doing this, this is going to do nothing but improve your team's efficiency. They're not wasting all that time. And you're going to hear me say the word time over and over again. Your team never has enough time. They fall behind in work orders. They fall behind in being able to do PMs. It's not their fault. Time's not on their side. But what we're trying to do is give you back some of that time, show you some ways that you can get some of that time back so that now your team can do more. And let's jump over here too, but optimizing that life cycle of your equipment too. So it's not just about the time and knowing where the stuff is. It's also being able to better manage that equipment, being able to manage those assets by potentially early detection when something's going sideways. Now, you may have other systems and systems that can tell you when things aren't running as efficiently as possible. These are all intertwined. But a lot of times I hear that some systems will say, yeah, we've got something going on with a unit out in the field, but it doesn't necessarily tell me where is that thing. Okay, where is it? And also, what areas of the building does that unit serve? Does it serve this half the building, these 3 rooms, or 1 room? I don't necessarily know that, but it just tells me that something's going wrong. It's not running efficiently. But also it helps you to do targeted interventions, being able to proactively address specific things that are going on and not wait for them to fail. Right? Heading that stuff off right out of the gates, but also helps you extend that lifespan. The more on top of your equipment maintenance you can be, it's going to do nothing but help extend the life of that equipment. And then it also helps reduce that downtime. Your team's out there, they're servicing that equipment more regularly. They're going to be able to really reduce the amount of time and know what's really going on. And sometimes it's not just a gauge that's going to show them that this thing's not running efficiently. Well, there's some reasons to that, but also your team can document what's really going on when they're standing in front of that unit. They can say, you know what, we've got a bearing going out, or you know what, we got to grease this more regularly, whatever the case may be. But they can document it, and it's going to help reduce that downtime. But equipment's not running at 100% all the time. And the challenge is always, what's the life cycle of that equipment? And you can see here, HVAC tends to be 15, 20 years, boilers 10, 15 years. The challenge also that's not on this slide is equipment that's in the field that you don't necessarily know is out there. Right. I'm going to get into that equipment database challenge here in just a few minutes, where we call those ghost and zombie assets. They're out there. They're not in my list, my equipment list, but that also means they're not accounted for. But the other challenge that I oftentimes hear is, I've got equipment that's swapped out multiple times in multiple parts of the building, and it's hard to keep track of what's going on and what's swapped out and who's in charge of that process. So again, we're going to talk about a process change here, being able to real-time update stuff from what everybody on your team has in their pocket, their phone or a tablet, or even their laptop in the field, being able to update this stuff live. But the other challenge is too, when this stuff goes down, it's hard to get equipment at some types of equipment right now. It still is, even though we're so far beyond COVID, it's still hard to get equipment, but also the cost of that equipment is just going through the roof. I've heard estimates 25 to 40% upcharges right now from what you used to pay 5 years ago. It's crazy. So getting the most out of your equipment is the goal here. So again, we're going to rehash this a little bit, but prevent that downtime. You want to keep that stuff running as fast and as efficiently as you possibly can, and minimize those breakdowns, which again is interruptions to your business. Extend that lifespan, get as much out of that, milk it as long as you can to get as much out of that as you can, but be able to make proactive decisions with that too. Also, optimizing that performance. You want that stuff to be running at top speed, top efficiency, nonstop. It's so that your team can better maintain that. But again, so that your business, your building is running more efficient. Also helps you reduce those unexpected costs. Okay, those, oh my gosh, we knew it was going down and we knew it was going to break. And then all of a sudden today it broke and now you can't fix it. Now you have to get a replacement, right? No more Band-Aids. The Band-Aids stopped working. So you want to reduce that cost and that unexpected, again, it's that comes down to that run to fail model. You want to help maximize the efficiency of your building and maximize the efficiency of your equipment. So is your asset database accurate and complete? What's out there? What's in the field? I took this photo, right? I'm on site this week at a hospital down in Florida. The photos look very similar to this. There's stuff all over the place. And this is just one roof, right? But it's all over the place. But the challenge is, in many cases, 20 to 40% of the assets have been replaced. They've been decommissioned, they've moved, or they're new, but they're not all documented. That could be everything from an electrical panel to, we moved a drain line, we moved whatever in your building, or you swapped out an AHU. What's in the field today? And how are you able to maintain that moving forward, real time, as things change, and document that? So this is what I often see. This is a similar an example of a spreadsheet that I got that was an export out of a work order system. All right. And you can see there's a bunch of holes here. It's nobody's fault. But here's the challenge. This stuff wasn't entered when the unit was being installed. All right. A lot of these holes here are old equipment, or I'm sorry, new equipment that's been replaced. The other challenge is a lot of the equipment in this database too is also stuff that should be purged, right? So you've got units in here that are the old unit and the new unit here for the same areas. And again, it's old and new mixed in. So how do you get a true snapshot of what's out? You're on the third floor of a building and you're trying to find the AHU and you find two units and they're saying they're in different parts of the building. You're not sure what service is what. That's what this shows. So then what happens is your team ends up spending time. Remember that word, time. Going from one end of the building, trying to research this or popping ceiling tiles, they're running around trying to figure out how they can get air back into these rooms. And it's a struggle. This is the daily for many folks that I talk to. But this is what you want. You want real time as stuff is updated in the field. It's filled out. Make, model, serial number, what room's it in, what you can even take photos, what ceiling tile to pop, all right, to even get access to that unit. But real time updated in the field as stuff changes. So this is constantly being updated with a visual mapping of where and what it is in the field for everything that you see in this list. All right. So is your equipment location, is it up to date? Meaning, where is it? What is it? And is it simple to find? At the end of the day, that's the goal here, is simple. It's got to be easy. I'm a firm believer that if it's not easy, your team's not going to use it. Okay. Let that sink in. If it's not easy, your team's probably not going to use it. But the challenge is a lot of folks will have a floor plan where they've got hand-drawn notes all over it. It's rolled up on the desk or behind my desk, and I'm the only person who knows where that stuff is. Well, that doesn't help the guy who's on night shift, or that doesn't help the design construction people who are trying to renovate that floor, and they don't even have an up-to-date list of what's going on. Right? New buildings are easier. You have a more of a complete list generally. Okay, units are newer or new, right? But the challenge is many of your buildings have been renovated so many times that things get lost in the shuffle there. And what we're talking about here is it doesn't matter if it's old or new. Everything is in the systems and everybody has access to where that stuff is. And that's the goal. Everybody's on the same page. So remember I mentioned those ghost and zombie assets. A lot of them look like this. They're tucked away. They're in the corner of a room. They got crammed into a part of a building. They're not in my list, but they're running until they're not. Okay. But what the challenge is also is you can't account for something in your budgets when you don't even show that it exists. Right. And this is especially the case in older buildings where I see this stuff is all over the place. I was just walking with a facilities director the other day, and he says, "Hey, I want you to grab my main maintenance tech and go run around and start documenting all my stuff." I said, "That's great. No problem." I counted 27 times where he said, "I didn't know that unit was there. I didn't know that electrical panel was there. I didn't know that water shutoff was there." 27 times in one day. Okay. He's been there 26 years. All right. If he doesn't know it's there, who else doesn't know it's there? Well, I'll tell you who else doesn't know it. The person who started on your team last week, let alone the person who's been there for 5 years. It's impossible for your team to just remember where everything is. So it's why it's critical for you to be able to document that stuff real time and not rely on what's up in somebody's head. But the challenge is it can cause you these unexpecteds. Oh no, it broke, or oh no, I've got to go tell my boss that, one of our units went down and I've got to come up with 50 grand, right? Those are the daily in large institutions or large facilities when things just break. And now they never break on your schedule. They break at 11 o'clock at night. They break at 2 o'clock in the morning, not always, 9:30 on a Tuesday. They break. And then you got to figure out how to get it up and running. And some of your facilities can be critical. If you're a hospital, obviously it can affect patients. If you're schools, it can affect students. Manufacturing, all think about how would that impact your organization if something goes down and now you can't utilize this part of your building if that unit goes down. What's that impact? It's not just money, right? It's the people impact. It's the impact on visitors to your sites. It's a compounded challenge. But your team's all over the place. They're running around, they're climbing up ladders, they're climbing up a ladder to find a serial number, they're climbing up a ladder to figure out what belt they need. Well, imagine I'm swapping out a belt on a unit, right? And I take a picture of the actual label on the belt and attach it to the equipment record. Now everybody knows exactly what belt they need. What's the one that's on there? What's the one they need in the future? And where'd I buy it? You can do all that now. There's tools available that you can do that. Or even you see that guy he's got his head up in the ceiling grid. Okay. What ceiling tile do I pop? I can't tell you how many times I walk into a building and I'm hunting for equipment and there's a blue dot or a green dot, or there's maybe an equipment tag up on the ceiling grid, and I'm popping it and I'm underneath the pan on the unit. So I got to move over two, and then, oh, that's not it. The serial number and everything's on the other side. So you're moving over again, or I got to access this part to fix it. It's over on this one. Take a picture, pop the right tile, take a picture, document it, save it to the equipment record. Everybody sees it. And what does that mean? Time. They don't have to waste time trying to dig and pop all those tiles and get frustrated and try and figure out what it is. It's easier. It's easier. It makes their life easier when they've got everything documented. It's a simple taking a picture and documenting where it is. The other challenge is a lot of folks have stuff that looks like it's just older stuff, but it's running, right? But I don't know when this stuff's going to break. I don't know when this stuff's going to go down, but it's out there and it's running. So we're going to run this thing until it just stops. The challenge is that's setting yourself up for failure. And again, sometimes obviously it's money can be an issue. Other times it's we can't get a unit. Other times we just don't have time. But again, you got to maximize, obviously, is keep this stuff running as best you can. So facility teams are always on the move. They're up on lifts, they're up on a roof, they're in a mechanical room, they're constantly on the go. And oftentimes they're just struggling trying to keep up. The challenge is, what do you do and how do you access your database now? I want you to really think about that. So can you access where everything is on a roof? Can you access it? I have no Wi-Fi. I have no cell service. I'm in a basement. I'm, in a mechanical room. I'm in concrete walls. Can you access all of that? How do you update that? Really think about that. Can I access everything building to building, site to site, wherever the heck I'm at? So the way you address that is get rid of the old way. Think about a new modern approach. It really will create a culture of success for your team. You want to maximize as much as you can with your team, but you also want to make sure that they're happy and they're not frustrated. Well, the old way is sitting down at a laptop or sitting down at a desktop and I'm trying to figure out where stuff is. So I forgot my password. I can't remember what it is. Or do I pull my phone out of my pocket and I can see where everything is? That's the difference. Old way, new way. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still access stuff on your desktop, but your desktop's not on a roof. Your desktop's not in a mechanical room. If you got to walk clear back to your office, back and forth, that's wasting, again, that big word, time. But at the end of the day, we want you to be able to access it wherever the heck you're at. Pull your phone out of your pocket, grab your iPad, grab your whatever tablet you use, and be able to see where everything is real time and update it live while you're there. So you got to adopt the modern way by using mobile devices, okay? Using the thing that every person on your team has, and it gives them the ability to capture stuff, access and share that stuff so that everybody's on the same team or on the same page. And what I mean by that too is not just your team. Think about giving vendors access to this. If you've got an outside vendor that services your VAVs, giving them access, they can see where everything is. They can also document where stuff is and what they've done. Even record a video, take photos, have all of that information all in one spot so everybody's on the same page. So imagine having access to that. See that photo in the upper left? What ceiling grid do I, what tile do I pop? Right? It's next to the light. I pop that one to get access to it. Seeing the make, model, serial number, seeing the plate that's on the unit, but then having it tied back to a map showing what room it's in, showing what floor it's on, showing the equipment record that's connected directly back from your export of your work order system, right? Having the make, model, serial number, but also having the O&M, parts list, links out to Granger where you order parts, right? What belt size, what filter sizes, all attached to where the equipment is, all on your phone. You can do that today. So the challenge oftentimes is also this, and it's a handful of folks know where stuff is. It's always the legacy guy. Who do I call? Think about the people on your team who know where everything is. What if they win the lottery tomorrow? They're not coming to work. So what do you do if they're gone? You shouldn't be relying on one or two or a handful of people to know where everything is in your building. Everybody should be on the same page. Everybody should be able to access where stuff is, not just Bob. Bob's that guy, right? Bob knows where everything is. Well, what about her? She started last week. She doesn't know where anything is in your building. Why do you have to go back to Bob over and over again? She should have access to where everything is day one. You can do that. The first day on the job, they know where everything in your building is located, all of it, real time, live, as it is in the field, reflective of what's really current conditions in the field, shows where everything is in the field. You can do that today. So here's a true story of what that means. K through 12 school, this happened on a weekend, right? The district, there was a fire on a rooftop unit. Fire department rolls up. They call the emergency number at the school district. She rushes over there. She'd been on the job almost 3 weeks. 3 weeks. All right. She rolls up to the building. They said, we need to find, we're not just going to start dumping power on this thing. It's live. All right. It's electrified. So she said, they asked her, where's the panel to shut this thing off? She opens up her phone, pulls it up and says, oh, it's this room right here. Unlocks the door, shows them a picture. It's the third breaker on the right. It's kind of tucked in the corner over here. They trip the breaker, kill it, put out the fire, right? Fire chief says, how did you do that? She goes, oh, I've got all the shutoffs for all my buildings all mapped out. It's right here. That's what you can do today. She's been on the job 3 weeks and she did that. This could have stopped the building from burning down, right? It was blazing. But at the end of the day, your team can do that daily. That's the power of being able to access where everything is today and real time. What's in your building? What floor? What, it's on the roof. It's a mezzanine. Where the heck your stuff is, having it all mapped out. Think about it. Gas, water, power. All your isolations can be mapped out. All your mechanical equipment, all your emergency equipment, fire extinguishers, all of the stuff that you have in your buildings, not just in, outside the buildings too. All the stuff mapped out, even on site plans. You can have that today. So take these steps to retain that institutional knowledge. Proactively start documenting where that stuff is. Scan and digitize all your stuff. Get rid of the paper, okay? Choose a platform that's user-friendly, easy. Remember, if it's not easy, they're not going to use it. Access, and they need to be able to access it on that thing that's in everybody's pocket, their phone. Everything's in one spot, that single source. Everything's in one spot, that connector. But also, hire high-tech guys and gals on your team. Get the high-tech savvy people, the people who were born with that cell phone in their pocket, all right? They were the ones that are going to be your future of your org, but go from months of training to weeks. They know where everything is and give them instant access day one. They start today, they have access today. New team members can then focus on those learning core competencies, and that really comes down to doing the job. They're an HVAC tech. They can go do work orders. They can do PMs, but they're not digging and shadowing somebody for a year trying to figure out where stuff is. So the way you do that is you got to start now. Keeping up with those building changes as your building changes. Every one of these drawing sets here, and it may be digital. This is a visual for paper, but at the same time, every one of these drawing sets means a change to your building. Being able to update that stuff live. When something changes in your building, it's everything is reflected. You can see all that historical stuff, but current conditions in the field. Start documenting where your equipment is located today, right? You got to do it. It's not a heavy lift. It's really not. The end of the day, you need to start documenting that, and I can help you with that. You know, if you reach out to me, I'm happy to talk to you more about it. But at the end of the day, this is your move forward plan. This is that culture of success, that proactive mentality. But let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's access. I want to see all the drawings of my building, and I want to see the drawings that touched a part of my building. Having all the historical drawings, tapping on an app, tapping on my as-built and seeing all the drawing sets, and they're all mapped out, showing where every set touched in the building, right? All those different parts of the building are all now, that puzzle that you have is all in one spot. And now you can see all the historical changes. Think about all the equipment, being able to walk up to a unit, scanning a QR code, and opening up that equipment record to see photos of the equipment, see everything associated with that equipment, all in one spot. Being able to see all the warranty, being able to see the manual, exploded parts list, what maintenance things do I need for this particular unit? But at the end of the day, everybody's seeing this. Even your vendors can walk up and scan that QR code and see all of that information. Shut off, same thing. Gas, water, power. Hospitals, med gas. All this stuff associated. Tapping on an app, again, pick the building you want to see the information on. Click at a button that actually says shutoffs. And then drill down and even see the stuff outside the building, right? In this case, you can see, here's the stuff outside, here's a backflow. Again, all the stuff for your building, all your mains, inside, outside, and all your isolations too. All your sub panels, all of that information all in one spot. At the end of the day, folks, what we're really talking about here is just being able to give your team, setting them up with tools to succeed, tools for success. I mean, we all want them to be able to do their job and go home at the end of the day and be happy, not be frustrated because I can't find stuff. That's the goal. And these are some of the tools that you can utilize to make that happen for you and your team. So let's open it up for some questions. Indira.
Thank you, David. Excuse me. We have time for a couple of questions. If I don't get to all of them, we'll reach out individually. So, David, let me just dive right in here. One of the questions that came in is the equipment list you showed looks a lot like ours, and it's a mess. Have any of your clients just started over fresh?
Yeah, I've had a few of our clients, and I'm only talking about what we can have done in the past, and specifically, yeah, I've had clients that said, "Listen, we're a mess. It's just got so far out of control," and we basically just went in and built a new list. We went out and our team went out and field verified what's really out there, created an equipment list, exported that out. Now they can import that into their work order system. Now they have a clean, up-to-date list. And obviously we worked with them as that move forward plan as well. So that move forward process, how to update that and maintain that as well.
All right, thank you. The next question I have here is, what would be the typical time frame to upload all equipment data to an electronic system?
Yeah, I mean, we traditionally will get an export out of a CMMS if they've got it. And then we'll import that in, and then we're field verifying what's out there. So the process from start to finish can vary depending on the size of your campuses. Traditionally, what we'll do, if it's a smaller campus, we'll knock it out fairly quickly. But at the end of the day, we also have done it where we've broken it into chunks. So for instance, some municipalities and some schools will break it into regions or zones, and we'll knock out zone to zone in a timely manner, obviously. But traditionally, we're looking at the 90, 120 days, depending on the duration of or the size of the project, of course. But we've had some of them that are a little bit longer, but that was, tens of millions of square feet. So it just really depends on the size of your scope and your project.
Yeah, and there's a follow-up, and I think you just addressed it. Someone mentioned if their if their building portfolio is 15 million square feet across the US, how do they tag and capture all the assets?
The benefit that and I can only speak for us. The benefit we've got is we're nationwide. We have a nationwide footprint. So we go where you are. I'm in Florida right now doing an on-site implementation with our team. We're going to be up in Wisconsin, then we're going to be in California, we're going to be in Hawaii again. So we're wherever you go, but we bounce all over the country. And we've got teams associated with being able to do those different projects. And when we need to call in the cavalry and ramp up, we do it. We have that footprint and that ability to ramp up and take on any of these projects.
Awesome. Here's a comment. I lost my lead plumber last year, and we had a 6-inch pipe burst in one of our buildings 3 months ago that took over an hour to shut down. This would have saved me 2 months of headaches.
That's that's the worst case scenario there. That's not a mop. That's ServPro, and the challenge is that it doesn't take long for something to go sideways in a building. And I feel for you. I do, because we've all seen it, whether it's the sprinkler head pop or a sink's leaking to a pipe burst. I was on site at a client, and this is about a year ago. We were on site at a client. We worked all day, came back the next day, and everything was all roped off and taped off. And we're like, what the heck happened? And they had a 9-inch or 8-inch, I'm sorry, pipe. Literally, it was pressurized pipe, blew a hole in the wall right next to the facilities department. Happened in the middle of the night. So again, things happen, and they can go sideways quick. So I feel for you.
Thanks, David. I've got time for one more question, but again, we will respond individually for any questions we didn't get to. Here's this one, David. I'm down to a skeleton crew. My team doesn't have time to spend doing this. How much hand-holding is required if we were to use this system to do this?
Yeah, it really depends on what we're capturing. We've got different things that we capture, and we want to really figure out what that scope looks like with you that makes sense for you. I'm a firm believer that if you say, "Oh, I want everything," I'm going to say, "No, not necessarily." We're going to figure out what your challenges are and what we can check off the most boxes for you, and we're going to do that. I don't want you getting something that you don't need. But more importantly, the hand holding, it's not much. I've had people where they sent us with an electrician that walked with us because they know where most of the panels are. But our team's heads are on a swivel. We're constantly looking and opening up doors. The flip side of that is I've had people literally give me a master set of keys and a couple of key fobs or card swipes and said, go. And that's what we did. We did it on our own. I've had both sides. It really just depends on you.
Well, thank you, David. That's all I do want to mention this one comment we received, which I thought was interesting. Our equipment list is similar, but we added in quote on or near location column, identifying a column location or another piece of equipment.
That's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think so too. I wanted to thank everybody for attending today. We appreciate you spending the time with us today. David, thank you for a great presentation. As a reminder, we'll be sending out a recording link in an email in the next day or so. So look out for that from ARC Facilities. If you have any other questions, you can see our information here. You could send it to solutions@arcfacilities.com. You can connect with David on LinkedIn. You can send him a note. We're happy to help as much as we can. David, anything else before we
No, thank you everybody for joining us, and reach out if we can do anything to help you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.